YouTubers. So today I want to talk about what do you need in order for you to work in a cruise ship. Now, before I start, how I came about this is because I'm now working in a land-based hotel, and every time I share my experiences with my trainees, I'm a training manager there, they often ask me, Brian, what do I need in order for me to work in a cruise ship? So in order for me to share this information, I want to be able to share it to more people, not just the guys or not just the trainees in my room or in the office. So I'm making this YouTube video so that everyone can benefit from this particular question. So to set some introduction in terms of working in a cruise ship, it's quite difficult actually, but there are perks to it. So you get to travel around the world, you get to see beautiful places. In the past 2.5 years that I've been working, that I worked there, actually 3 years, I've been to the Mediterranean, I've been all over Asia, I've been to Alaska, and I've seen beautiful places. So there are perks to it. So basically you travel the world for free. The money wise, my position is a 2.5 stripe. My position was a 2.5 stripe, so the pay was kind of good, but the best part about it is that you don't have to pay taxes. So those are, I guess, two top things that you can think about why you would consider working in a cruise ship. Alright, so let's get down to the business and the core of this particular video, which is what do you actually need. So first things first, you need to have a passport. You're going to be traveling around the world, moving from one country to another, and definitely you're going to need a passport. Your passport should be at least a year. There should still be at least 1 year validity. Why? Because the contracts that normally people get in cruise ship would range from somewhere between 4, 6, 8, 9, some even do 10 months. So make sure that you have a valid passport, because if not, then you're going to be forced to go home in the middle of your contract, which you don't want. Okay, you want to be able to finish your contract, so when you go home you got tons of money and then you can spend them all. Not really spend them all, but you have money to spend. Okay, so that's number one, passport. Now the second thing that you would need is something called a seaman's book. Now what is a seaman's book? A seaman's book is basically like a sort of like a passport, actually. Kind of looks similar to a passport, but basically it just keeps track of the ports of call that you go to. Some ports of call are very strict, like they would stamp the actual seaman's book. Some would just stamp the passport, but more importantly, the seaman's book is used so that you will be identified as to how long you've stayed at sea. Like when you let's say you signed on and then you signed off, normally it'll be tracked by the seaman's book because it's going to be signed by the captain, you know, and then but once you sign off again, it gets signed by the captain. So it kind of keeps track of how long and how much time you've spent at sea. Very, very important, especially if you want to get a recognition or a certificate that you've stayed with the company, or you've been at sea for about a year or so. Very, very important. Another importance of the seaman's book is because one requirement for you to have the seaman's book is something called the basic safety training. So I'm going to start talking about the requirements. So that's the first thing to consider when getting a seaman's book, the basic safety training. Now what is the basic safety training? So basic safety training is composed of several kinds of training, which can involve, number one, firefighting, elementary first aid, basic survival, and all those things. So basically things that you would need in order for you to successfully, well, hopefully, if knock on wood, you know, if things go not so good at the ship, like if there's a fire, you should know how to properly extinguish a fire, because we can't exactly call a fire department and ask, hey, we have a fire, we need help. We can't exactly do that when we are at sea. So it's critical that you are equipped with the skills and knowledge on how to properly extinguish a fire. We don't have we don't have a way to just simply call the hospital, you know, unlike on land base, you can just call 911 or whatever the hotline is, and then they'll send you an ambulance and what's not. That doesn't happen on board. We do have a hospital, but it's a very, very small hospital, very, very limited capacity. So it's not exactly ideal for you to just rely on them. So each of us would need to have certain amounts of knowledge when it comes to providing first aid. So that's why you undergo that. Amongst others, like you also need to know how to you also need to know how to properly don a life vest. You need to know how to, let's say your life raft. We have something called a life raft. So let's say your life raft capsizes, so you need to be able to know how to put it back in order. So those kind of things. All right, now let me share to you some highlights from that particular training. I particularly enjoyed that training because it allowed me to have the opportunity to basically be engaged or experience a real life fire. It was quite interesting, and it was quite exciting for me because I was the guy in front holding the hose, and then the rest of my teammates were just backing me up. So I was the guy in front of the fire, and that was quite interesting. The others, they found it very scary. You don't necessarily have to be scared with it, because why? Number one, you're wearing all these firefighting equipment, your jackets, and all those gloves, everything that you would need so that you won't get hurt, which is good. And secondly, it's a controlled environment. That's the thing. It's a controlled environment that if anything goes wrong, then there is backup. The point of the training is for you to have better familiarization on how to extinguish a fire and not exactly be a master of it, but better and good familiarity of it will definitely help you just in case the real deal happens. Okay, another highlight that I'd like to share on that one is when we had to jump from a 1.5 story building into the pool. So basically the height of a 1.5 story building, okay, into the pool. That was quite exciting because, well, first thing is that it's quite high. So the height itself is gonna take you aback a little bit, and then you have to jump, literally jump from the ledge to the pool, into the pool. Now the height itself didn't really bother me, but it was the fall that kind of bothered me at first, because number one, you're wearing a life jacket, and I was afraid that the life jacket would actually lunge or jump or basically go up and hit my nose. So we were taught on how to properly secure the life jacket so that it doesn't go up it doesn't hit your nose or any part of your face, which is good. So that was the first thing. So those who are going to be doing that exercise, please make sure you secure your life jackets very, very well, or do this. I did this, and I made sure that it doesn't go up. And then once you get into the pool, you'll be submerged for a good second or two. Afterwards, you'll float anyway, so that's not really scary. You know, just relax, don't panic, because if you panic, that's it. That's when things go wrong. All right. So those are the requirements when it comes to getting the Seaman's Book. Another thing, as far as I can remember, when I got mine was that I had to go back to my college and secure a copy of my grades, and then that was part of the requirements when you're getting the red ribbon, which is again part of the requirements when getting the Seaman's Book. So a lot of those things, a lot of paperwork that is required. Okay, so passport, Seaman's Book, and the third most important thing that you would need, and this is something that you can't really buy or whatsoever, is you have to dedicate some time for it. Okay, why? Because the training alone, or the basic safety training alone, is maybe around 10 to 12 days. Okay, and you can't really be doing this on the side, because it's a full day training, 10 to 12 days straight, full training, and you have to dedicate some time for it. Okay, walking the papers alone, I took about 3 months off work in order to complete all the requirements. It's quite tedious because I had to go from Manila to Marina to my college, and then going back to the agency, important. So a lot of legwork and paperwork are there to be done. So you have to have time to actually do it. My good estimate is somewhere around 3 months. Okay, money-wise, yes, you might be asking, but Brian, how much is it going to cost me? The basic safety training is somewhere around, I believe, somewhere around 10,000 to 10,000 plus. So more or less around 10,000. If you're not from Manila and you're gonna have to secure yourself a hotel, then you're gonna have to shell that out. I did that. I had to stay in a hotel for about 10 days. I just got one of those cheap ones just for me to have be able to take a shower and sleep comfortably. What else? The securing or getting of the Seaman's book is not that expensive. If I'm not mistaken, somewhere around 750 to 100. 750 to 1,050, depending on how fast you need it. I just took the regular route, and then, you know, passport. Then you can just check DFA for that one. Nowadays, getting of the passport takes about 3 months waiting time, so you have to book in advance. So you have to take that into consideration. Take that into consideration as well. So there you go, folks. Time is the third most important thing that you need to consider if and when you want to apply in a cruise ship. Okay, but everything is worth it, folks. I tell you, it's quite good because you get to travel the world. You get to see tons of places. You get to earn lots of money. You don't have to be taxed, which is awesome because I hate getting taxed here in the Philippines. But nevertheless, all those hard work will pay off. I'll talk in another video some of my top 5 pros and cons when it comes to working in a cruise ship, and I'll share that to you in the next video. I guess maybe tomorrow I'll make one. So I guess that's it for now. Again, my name is Brian, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see my future videos, please go ahead and subscribe. That would really be great. All right, see you guys.